Good morning, guys. How is everybody? Cindy Persina here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the beauty industry standards and how they've changed over the years. I was really kind of cool as I was reading this the other day. I made some notes on it because I found it so interesting, and I was laughing this morning before I got on thinking, how funny is it? I just talked about the importance of sleep and how important it is to get sleep or we get dark circles. And what did I wake up with this morning? Hello under the eyes. So we're gonna cover this stuff up. What's everybody doing today? I'm gonna go over something here in a minute. Let me get this on and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about what's happened over the years with industry standards and how we've reacted to it and how important it is. That'll probably go off again in about 10 minutes. Little reminders. Who else uses their phone for little reminders to remind them to stay on track with things they have going on for the day? Mine are constantly going off. Good morning, Becky. How are you? How are you? How are you? Becky, I was going to talk a little bit about the industry standards today, and I thought it was so interesting, some of the stuff that I found out as I was looking. Because here's the thing, okay? As American women, and this was pretty cool, and this was part of the article, it talked about how the internet and media and social media makes us feel like we have to have a certain look to follow, or we're just not good enough, or we don't measure up, right? Subconsciously, a lot of women, and this is, I'm going to read from this, subconsciously a lot of women are victims of milestones set for them to reach when it comes to beauty, and it's not right. It's a lie, right? Even though we've become inherently more intelligent, especially after this massive technology that we have now, it makes us very primitive on what we understand to be true, right? So I'm going to go over some of the developments that we've had over the years and kind of talk about that a little bit. I'm going to put my under eye on to cover this up, and then we're going to it's go time. So I'm gonna just put this on the outer. Oh my gosh, my belly is growling. Yes, Becky, I'm still doing that fasting in the morning. So if you guys hear my belly, if you hear a loud growl, it's actually not coming from the little furry creature that's sitting right here on my sweater. It's actually my stomach. And sometimes it's so loud that it scares her and she'll run away. It's so funny because it's my belly's really growling loud. Really loud, really loud. All right, hi Simon, how are you? Good morning. How's everything in Ireland? I think there are two ways. Hold on. There's the social side and the personal side of it. Yeah, you know what? Isn't that true? It's there are. You're right. It's there's the part of it is that a lot of us internalize that social side into the truth and think that we have to measure up. We have to measure up too. I'm going to go over some of the ways that our industry changed. I've got a little article that I found that was just so informative, and I just found it truly amazing. Let me put this on so that I don't feel like I'm just talking to you guys with lips covered with foundation. Hold on. I'll put this on really fast and then I'll go over it. Nothing like staring at my ponytail. Sorry, guys. Okay, at least I won't feel so, right? Okay, so listen, this was so interesting. I'm gonna put my glasses on even though I don't really need it to read this article, but it was so cool. So it talks about how, especially women can, and guys can too, but we can get surrounded by signals telling them how we can look, speak, do this, that, the other, right? And it can be really confusing. Finding ourselves feeling good enough, whether it be a certain look, whether it be a certain hairstyle, a certain way of wearing makeup, a certain way of wearing clothes, what kind of house you live in, what kind of car you drive, are your children behaving like the other people's children that you see on social media where they're all clean all the time and they're never a mess and they're never in a bad mood, right? We can get like that to where it's like, we start to compare ourselves, like, what am I doing wrong that I'm not doing this? But I found this really cool. In the 20s, and I didn't realize this, but in the 20s, many women were hitting the workforce during World War I. And by the end of 1910, they didn't want to give that up. So they started to be a little, the flapper movement came out, right? Chopping your hair off, looking thin, no curves, because it was like you were kind of more in a man's world. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was happening during that time. And women had, you know, the women that weren't in the workforce felt bad that they weren't in the workforce. So this is not a new thing. Social media has made it harder sometimes because it's more in your face, but it's not really a new thing. In the 30s was the Great Depression, and many women, for many reasons, weren't able to worry about, you know, having the perfect figure. So it wasn't like an ideal body. And it makes me wonder if this quarantine and all the stuff we're going through now is doing the same thing. We're not so much worried about that. There's bigger fish to fry, right? So it became a little bit more curvy, and then the fashion was more like redoing men's suits because, you know, there wasn't much around. I remember my grandma telling me, you know, that women would have to use leg makeup on their legs because there were no hose, you know, pantyhose, you know, stockings. So here's the thing. So they started to do, you know, Jean Harlow was one of those back in that day, all right? They got really creative. They reworked men's suits and women's attire and the whole 9 yards. And in the 50s, we know the hourglass figure was in, right? That's when Marilyn Monroe was really popular, and it was the curvy figure, bigger's better, Elizabeth Taylor, and all that. And the culture started to shift. Mini skirt got introduced at the end of that, and Twiggy and Jean Shrimpton were starting to do a slimmer figure. So it was like, here we are curvy, now we're slim, right? So then in the, that was the 50s, 60s. So then in the 70s and 80s, that's where I grew up, it was like, skinny was ideal. It was like, you know, especially in the 70s, skinny was ideal. It was like that straight up and down figure, right? Natural looks were real prominent. In the 80s, you hardly wore any makeup. It was bell bottoms, you know, peace and love and all that. Now in the double O's, right? And that's when I got into spray tanning. And it's funny because that was when tan was in, and the tanner the better. And I mean, most of the girls that were going to tanning beds and doing spray tans, we would go out to dinner and I would literally make a comment to my husband. I'd say, everybody, because it wasn't natural. It wasn't a natural color tan. It was very kind of orangey. And as everybody looked like Tootsie Rolls just sitting around, like orange Tootsie Rolls. It was like so crazy. But that was what was in. The tanner the better, spray tans, tans in the tanning beds. It was all the thing. Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, you know, they were at the forefront of that, being tan and whatnot. And then it was more of a athletic figure, slimmer athletic, and then all of a sudden the Kardashians came in and it was curvy, right? So now we're like, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi, Terry. Hi, Wilma. So we started having that be the standard industry, right? And now that's it. And now it's the big booties and this, that, and the other. And then later on it's going to be, and now it's we're starting to see a trend where the chest is becoming a more flatter place and stuff. So it's like those trends. So here's the thing. When we are trying to become all of that stuff, we lose touch of who we really are. And what does it matter, right? Have you ever seen somebody, because listen, you guys know I am pushing the 60 envelope, but have you ever seen somebody that maybe they're my age and they're wearing like a micro mini, right? Good morning, Sheila. How are you guys? How are you guys? So say somebody's wearing like a micro mini and they're like my age. Are you ever tempted to go, oh my gosh, like she has no business wearing that? You ever tempted to do that? But you know what we do? We hate being judged by society, right? We hate it, we hate it, we hate it. And I've found myself doing that at times, going, oh, she really shouldn't be wearing that. And I have to quickly stop myself. I've got alarms going off. Do I want somebody doing that to me? Do I want somebody doing that to me? Are we being a kind human being? Are we being a kind race to each other as women to support each other if we're gonna say she shouldn't really be wearing that? By whose standards, right? By whose standards? So here's the thing. I know people are always like, what should I wear makeup wise? There are things that'll kind of help you look a little younger, and with clothing, you know, there's trends and styles that really are set forth because they will kind of make you look a little better for your age. But here's something. If mini skirts are what makes you feel confident, or if, you know, I know at the age I'm at, less is kind of more for me. So the least, you know, and that's why you'll see me a lot of times going with very little eye makeup. And if less is more for you and that's a good thing, then go with it. But if you want to wear a smoky eye with winged eyeshadow and a wing liner going on, go for it. Because you know what? Here's something that I've always found. When I had my salon, and I would be, we would be booked out for like 3 years at a time. People would come in and they'd be like, what should I wear on my lips? What should I wear for this? And I'd get their personality first, because here's the thing. You cannot make somebody feel comfortable and secure just because you say so. It has to come from within them. So as we go about finding out about trends and things that are going on in the industry, whether it be makeup trends or fashion trends, there is nothing more attractive and more youthful than having peace in your heart, joy in your heart, and being a kind person. There's something that's very attractive that you cannot put a price tag on. You cannot achieve it by purchasing it. It has to be something that comes from within. And honestly, I can remember my grandma lived to be 99, and everywhere we went, when we'd go together, everybody thought she was my mom. And everybody would be like, how do you stay so young? And I knew what it was. She had joy in her heart that was just unspeakable, no matter, and this woman went through a ton. Like lost her home in a flood, watched her belongings go down, washed away. And she'd speak of it, but she never dwelled on it, right? She never dwelled on it. She would just speak of it and kind of be like, well, that's what happened. And you suck it up and you keep going. Sometimes we need to vent. Sometimes we need that minute to be kind of cry and get it all out. But in the long run, if we can, if we're able to, which I know we're able to because we're capable, if we're able to, if you can find that place where you get peace in your heart, and I know where it comes from, but it's hard to tell people because sometimes they think, you know, that's just, you know, whatever. But, and I am starting a little blog, so if you want to know more information on like tips and tricks and ways to ease stress and trends and tips and all that, message me. But if we can find that place where you're at complete peace and nobody can touch that, that is worth more than any beauty item you could purchase. It's worth more than any opinion, because opinions don't really matter. It matters what you're thinking in here and what you're believing. Don't believe the lies that you've been told. Don't believe that you're not good enough. Believe that you were created for a purpose and that you will achieve that purpose and that you can do all things, right? Good morning, Amanda. So I just want to kind of leave you with that. Trends come and go. Big booty in today, gone tomorrow. But something that never goes out of style is being kind and being full of joy and peace. So I encourage you, and I'm claiming joy and peace for you today. All right, everybody have a great day. Take care.